Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. Hope you come back often and hope you tell your friends about us so that they can join us too. Before we start the show, I want to turn to Father Ron Walters for the show's prayer. Father Walters, welcome.
O God, as we create in miniature the world around us, may we marvel at the beauty and genius which created the world and instilled in us a portion of your great knowledge and wisdom. Give success to the work of our hands, O God. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Well, now I want to run the video for our show sponsor, who is Mr. Dennis Brennan of Brennan's Model Railroads.
For over 25 years, Brennan's Model Railroading has been offering unique products for the O-scale market. Our flagship product, Brennan's Better Ballast, was an instant hit and continues to be the industry leader. Its prototypical size and natural color blend of real crushed granite make it the choice for discerning modelers. Since then, we've developed a complementary line of natural ground cover materials. Additionally, we offer craftsman kits that anyone can build with complete photographically illustrated instructions that assume you've never done this before. The Sonky Wenky Coffee Company is the latest and the fourth kit to be added to our ongoing and highly popular limited edition Ellison Tribute series. These kits take Ellison's scratch-built iconic structures to a new level with Dennis' spin. The idea being that if Frank were alive today, this is how we would build these models using modern methods and materials. Use the QR code to visit our website.
Really do appreciate Dennis to be the sponsor for our show. Helps us pay the out-of-pocket costs for the Zoom and the website and so forth to be able to have these shows. So thank you so much, Dennis. The scholarship, you've heard me talk about that many times. Right now, we're $204 short of being able to meet the challenge match by our very generous anonymous donor, and that's I think that's quite an accomplishment for the group. I hope that we can get the other $204 in the next couple of weeks, so that we can have the whole $1,000 from our anonymous donor. If you have any questions or anything, please send me an email because we really do want to try to cover that. And as well as any other donations you might be interested in making to the scholarship fund. We've started a new email newsletter. Comes out once a month, first of each month. Martin Breckbiel, MMR, the noted editor of many, many, many years in the model railroad industry, as well as in other industries, agreed reluctantly to be our editor. And the first issue has gotten rave reviews. If you can believe it, the first issue I think was 12 pages, and the second issue is probably going to be larger than that. We're not trying to make a magazine or something slick out of this. We're trying to use it as a tool, number one, to give information to modelers, and two, to increase the number of modelers that we reach with our Zoom shows and the articles and so forth that we try to publish at various places. So if you have any comments about the newsletter, please send them to Martin. And if you have any articles that you'd like to write. It doesn't have to be a large thing. It can be a couple of sentences. That's fine. Just information that we can share with each other, tips that we can share with each other, new products that may be coming out that you think that the group might be interested in. All of those kind of things is what we'd like to be able to put in a newsletter, because the newsletter can be responsive much quicker than putting it in the ads in a magazine because of their lag times. But our lag time is not like that, not for the newsletter. So if you'd like to contribute something in the way of an article or comment, please let Martin know, and Martin can put his email address in the chat function so everybody knows how to reach him, and we'll go from there. I was so happy with the first issue. I can't believe how good it was. I really do appreciate so very much Martin taking on this role and producing the first of I hope, a long line of newsletters for us. It's amazing to me the responses that I'm starting to get from the article in a newspaper that I write once a month. It's my local newspaper. It doesn't have wide distribution. It's not a national publication or anything like that. I got turned down by the AP they didn't want to cover it because I wasn't a full-time employee of a newspaper. But it's interesting to me that I am getting responses from. Some of the responses I'm getting are from model railroaders. Why they're not getting this kind of information in other places, I don't know. Why people that aren't model railroaders are responding, I don't know. But I think there's an audience out there that we've missed in the past. And I don't have a solution. I don't know how to reach it other than how I'm doing it at the local level through my local newspaper. But that's going to take a lot of local people trying to write something about model railroading periodically to put in their local newspapers. But I'm getting comments like, no one's talking about your hobby. We haven't heard anybody talk about your hobby. Do we have a local club? It's amazing to me the kinds of questions that people have that if they were, that you would think they already knew the answers to, and they don't. And if I'm providing that kind of information through this newspaper article, then that tells me that we're missing an audience. And how to reach that audience, I think, is something that we need to try to discuss and figure out in the future. So with that said, that's my editorial for tonight. I want to introduce Chris Coarse, who is the host for our MyBuilds. The next one coming up is next week. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thanks, Jim. Go to our lovely share screen here. Except, where is it? There we go. Okay, now we're in business. All right, the next MyBuild is, of course, featuring you as always. It will be a holiday theme, December 20th. Please get me your photos by this coming Sunday, if you can, please. That way we can get a decent opportunity to go ahead and put the whole thing together. It's not just a holiday theme, but along those lines, it's Santa, Christmas, billboard cars, snow scenery, snow plows, people ice skating, holiday lighting, holiday decorations, those sorts of things. So whatever you have that would fit into that big, giant, broad category, please send us your photos. We'd love to see what you're working on, or maybe something that a project that you did in the past, and we'll be sure to share those. And if you're not planning on being with us, then please include a description. That way we can talk about it a little bit and add some context to it. And if it is your first time participating, please also send us a photo of yourself for your intro slide. So anyway, please email me your photos, railrunner130@hotmail.com, and we'd love to have a good full show of holiday themed items So I'll give it back to you, Jim.
Very good. When are you going to be finished with that barge, tug, or whatever you want to call it thing?
The debris boat.
Yeah,
It's been out for about what, a month, maybe 2 now.
I haven't seen it.
Yep,
And
it's out there.
You ought to show a model of it, or show what you're doing with it, because I haven't seen it. I've been looking for it, but I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen it in your newsletter.
Okay.
Think about it. I don't think it was in the newsletter.
Yeah, let me see if I can actually, if you want to hang on, I've got it on this computer. I can pull it up real quick here. And flat car. Go to the all right. Oh, there it is. That's weird. But anyway, that's the debris boat right there.
Where?
Right there. Got 2 of them.
All I see is about 50 different small little pictures.
Oh, it didn't do that. Hang on, let me stop share. And all right, try this again here. There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Ah, okay. That's neat. That is neat.
Yep, it came out pretty nice. Yeah, actually in the kit you get I came up with a because the real boat sits on a low buoy, I came up with a depressed center flat car. It's not historically accurate by any stretch of the imagination, but it suits the purpose for what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
You've got the basically the push boat version. It's a full hull in the background, and you've got the waterline version, which has the front end loader on it, and the front one. Front end loader is this whole piece on for the front end loader is it's 3D printed.
Chris, those are HO, right?
Yes.
You're not, and that's the only scale you're going to produce them in?
Yes. I've sold 2 in 2 months, so it's not a real popular kit, but I thought it was significant enough that it'll find its right audience.
Absolutely. I think it's nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the MyBuild is next week, and hope that this is the last one for this year. So make sure that you show us something that you're building. Hope you will.
Oh, and in January we're going to try to take it up to the full the full show. So
that's the game.
Send us what you got. Send us everything.
That is the game plan, and it's open to everybody. It's open to manufacturers. If you want to show us a kit that you're coming out with, it can be anything, but it needs to be models. That's what this show is all about. And you may not have built anything for a while, so show us something that you built 6 months ago. But sharing in the hobby is important, and other people seeing what you've built is important. So we think that we can fill up a show once a month with the MyBuild. We're going to try at least, but it's going to take your help and your cooperation and your interest that you want to participate. So with that said, let's start the show. And I want to start this show with the sponsor of our in-scale segment of in-scale modeling, which is National Capital Trains. So Pat, if we could run their video.
National Capital Trains is the largest supplier of N-scale modeling products in the state of Virginia. We have been in business since 1989. We carry a full line of modeling products, specializing in N and HON3 scales. We carry a large selection of competitively priced high-quality N-scale products from Atlas, Bachmann, Digitrax, Intermountain, Cato, Microtrains, NCE, Pico, Rapido, Soundtracks, as well as Brass. For foreign railroad train aficionados, we offer a wide selection of Japanese and European prototype trains. We are located 20 miles from Washington, D.C. in Springfield, Virginia. We are a short 7-minute drive off Interstate 95. Stop in and see us for the best in N scale. We also have online ordering on our website, including great prices and expert advice. Call us for your N scale modeling needs and advice. Use the QR code to visit our website. We look forward to serving you.
I really appreciate Bernie, who owns National Capital Trains, wanting to be the sponsor of the N-Scale segment. And I thank Clem Harris, who is the host for the N-Scale segment, for volunteering to do that. So Clem, welcome.
I don't see him, Jim.
He is not here.
Clem's too small to be found.
Okay. Well, I expected him to be here. I don't know what's happened. I hope that he's not sick or anything, and I apologize that he can't be with us this evening. So let me move on to HO Scale. And HO Scale is sponsored by Mainline Hobby Supply. So, Pat, if you could run that video.
Mainline Hobby Supply is your one-stop store for model trains in G, O, S, HO, N and Z scales, including locomotives, rolling stock, track, train sets, and more to help build your model railroad. We are the largest model railroad shop in the area, and we carry a wide range of model railroad supplies across scales. Our friendly staff is always available to help with your modeling needs and to special order anything you may require. Mainline Hobby Supply is in southern Pennsylvania, halfway between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. We are only an hour away from Baltimore, and we are easy to get to from the 70, 81, 83, and 270 freeways. Plan to stop by on your next trip through Pennsylvania. Mainline Hobby Supply also has an online store that can cater to your modeling needs wherever you are located. With our large inventory, fixed shipping costs, friendly and knowledgeable service, and prompt shipping, consider Mainline Hobby Supply for your next online order. Use the QR code to access our online store.
And I certainly appreciate Mainline Hobby for being a sponsor for HO Scale. Ed O'Rourke is the host for the HO Scale segment. So Ed, I will turn it over to you, sir.
All right, thank you. Let's see, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. There we go. Okay. And let's see, where's the slideshow?
Down at the bottom right, next to the slider at the bottom right.
The little TV screen.
Next to the slide, it looks like a slide screen. Over. Move to the right. Move to the. Use your mouse.
There it is.
Right,
There we go. Okay, now we got it. Okay. So, all right, I call this, lest we forget, thinking outside the kit box. Like many of, and Jim, when this will go on for quite some time. So when my 15 minutes is up, just say so, and we'll stop there and come back to it the next time.
Okay.
Like many of us, I got into model railroading because my father was one. I don't think he ever passed a hobby shop without going in and without buying something. And since no one else of my 5 siblings took any permanent interest in model railroading, I eventually inherited all his stuff. He died when I was in college, actually. So let's see. So there's these 2 things have been on my shelves for probably 50 years. I haven't figured out what to do with them. But take a look at the price, 69 cents. Those were the good old days that we talk about. And I do enjoy finding a way to use the old buildings that my father built on my own layout. Everything that you're going to see here is on my previous layout. We just moved in May, and I'm building a new layout, but I'm as far as bench work and some track, and that's it right now. Everything else, all this stuff's in boxes. In any case, here are some things, hints about things to think about some of these older buildings, not as they are, but as they can be. The first thing I'm going to talk about is Revell. Revell produced a bunch of very nice building kits in the late 50s and early 60s. They had a level of detail that's good even by today's standards, and were absolutely revolutionary when they came out. The colors were pretty bright, you might even say garish. The molded plastic was shiny as it came from the box, but they were light years ahead of, say, Plasticville USA structures that were then available, and much quicker and easier to build than the wood craftsman kits of the day. Most were under about $3, relatively inexpensive even in $1960. And they can still be found at train shows and swap meets all over the place, sometimes in the box, sometimes built up. Best known is probably the engine house. This is a classic two-stall engine house designed by Al Armitage, and it is based on the scratch-built structure by John Allen that Tom's been building. His, of course, was wood, but it's that a similar outline. I think that's where Armitage got the idea. It's a little short for anything beyond a diesel or maybe a 260, although you can work with it and expand it. I painted it, modified the roof vents, added signage left over from a Walther's kit, and now it serves as an industry, hiding a corner where tracks go through the wall below the buildings, changing levels. The rear of it is a DPM modular wall and a roof from another Revell kit. Sharp-eyed folks may also spot the Revell engine house, or the Revell water tower over here. Armitage designed the engine house so that the dies could be modified to produce other structures. One was the Superior Baking Company, which utilizes the sidewalls, replacing the engine doors with more windows. It didn't have the machine shop edition. I've used it as it is with the addition of some paint, dull coat, and weathering, and backing up the windows with clear styrene to preserve the muntins. Because it's already built, I didn't try to repaint it. I wanted to preserve the signage. The signage on it, I think, is some of the best part of it, to tell you the truth. The top picture shows how I used parts of these structures. My friend Jim Height had a whole box full of them, and he needed a background structure here in Norwood on his layout. So this is how I took those different parts of the engine house and the couple of the other kits and built them into a background flat. The third structure in the group was the Weekly Herald building. It had a false front, as you can see in the picture of the kit. Otherwise, it was similar to the other two. And of the three that I inherited, this one was in the worst shape, so I opted to use parts of it. The two long sides here became a flat against the backdrop on the back part of the layout. Another part of it became a body shop, as you can see here. This is the front. The roof is from the kit. The overhead door is a design preservation models thing, and the back is unfinished because it's set against a wall. It's attached to a couple more DPM modular buildings. The machine shop and the front of the kit, I didn't have a use for at that point. I've since found one for the machine shop that we'll talk about another time. Revell also produced a set of 4-yard structures. The elevated crossing shanty is sort of iconic. I think maybe that's the biggest one. There was also a small shed with that one time had two guys sitting out playing checkers on the barrel out front. I don't know what happened to them, but there you can see it up here. Again, they were produced originally in a very bright yellow and dark brown. This is what they look like when you repaint them in New Haven railroad structure colors. I'm not sure of the lineage of this building, but those are New Haven structure colors. They were green with brown trim at one time on work structures. This is an Atlas Tower. It was a reasonable stand-in for SS-75 in New Haven Station. I later found some photos of the real tower and Scratch built it, and that will appear on my new layout, but this is a pretty decent model. Anyway, you can add an interior into the top and some lighting. It comes out pretty good. The other ones over here are the Plasticville USA Tower. As you can see, it's stock and then with some modifications. Painted and weathered with a new roof. Makes a big difference. For up close, you'd want to replace the stairs here as well, which are pretty basic. Below, this is the west cut of New Haven stations. You can see it there. Also note the section house here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The New Haven used a lot of old cars as buildings. Some remained on wheels for tax purposes. I'm told that if they were on wheels, they were fully depreciated rolling stock rather than buildings. So they didn't have to pay property taxes on them as you would on a structure. Again, some paint and dull coat to take the shine off them, and weathering make them usable. This one I added a loading dock to. This is the back of it. This one has incredible level of detail. And this was all, just all came in the kit, all these little parts and everything. I had to figure out how to paint them because my father didn't paint them. He just put them together as they came, which is interesting when it's built, not to take some more careful painting. Let's go on. There we go. Motor storage area in New Haven had a couple of these old cars on wheels. There, you can see it there. The picture I've seen of it looked like it was yellow. I'm pretty sure they were. It's a black and white photo, but I'm pretty sure they were originally yellow. This one I think is an AHM old time kit. I added some stairs on this end and did some cleaning up of it and painting it, and that was really all it took. And it's pretty much, if you see the original picture, it's pretty much a dead ringer for what the original building there looked like. This one, I like this kit too. It's a really nice detailed build once again. Trouble is, the New Haven didn't have any offset cupola cabooses, so it wouldn't have existed on the New Haven. So I eventually scratch built something to take its place on the layout. Let's keep going here a little more. This one up here is a Roundhouse Palace car kit. Again, modeling a photo of such a car that I spotted in Cedar Hill Yard in a photo in a book. On the right here, you can kind of see there's two of them grafted together. I saw a picture of one of those too. This is a Roundhouse Pullman Palace car. It was a diner, I think. I bricked up part of it, boarded up part of it, and changed some of the windows around, and again put a staircase on the end of it, and it makes a pretty decent building. And it is on trucks, so we're not paying any property tax on it. And this is how those scenes kind of fit into the motor storage area in New Haven. This is my layout is an island, so this is the back wall on the other side of it, as you can see here. Atlas made a lot of structures as well. This trackside shanty, again, in bright yellow and brown trim, with different paint and a new roof. It became the Carknocker's shed in New Haven Station. I'm not sure who made the section house. I think it's actually True Scale, but it's a pretty nice model with a little, again, with some cleaning up and detailing and painting. It works quite well as a section house or hand carved shed here. I later found a hand car kit and built it, set it out here on the track ready to go. This corner has a track that descends through the wall to reach the lower level here. Aside from the Revell engine house, which we talked about before, which is over here, there are a number of other structures involved here. The track runs behind this retaining wall and underneath the buildings, actually through part of the buildings, but you can't see it, down to a lower level, which is behind the backdrop over here. So let's look at this brick factory first. This is an engine house as well. It was made by Airfix, which is a British company. So it's actually 00 scale, but it works, you know, it's close enough to HO scale that it works for HO. It was actually a single stall structure, but you could combine them together into multiple stalls and lengths. This one is actually 4 kits put together to make a double-sided engine house. Paint, weathering, roof vents, and some other fooling around made it good. It's towards the back of the layout, so it's not something you're going to see up close. I did get in close to take the picture, obviously, but it wasn't something you're going to look at really up closely. The interior is pictures glued behind the windows, which is a very effective way of modeling an interior if you're not going to get right up on top of it, even if you do. There were a bunch of wall pieces left over, which I once turned into a flat. I haven't used that one recently. It's just sitting on the shelf waiting to find a use. Ulrich made the expandable, add a unit expandable factory, which this is how it came out of the box, but you could combine them together into all kinds of things. Here's one that I added some details to, cleaned up the loading dock, put a new loading dock on it. This section is a different color brick. There are multiple styles of them with different kinds of windows. This one is this one back here, as you can see, is different than this one. I added the Scratch built the lean-to to it, added another one over here. Put some better roof details on it. I think it was Tom said that the roof details are important because that's the part you see. My friend Roger Beiswanger's dad had them as well. That's where this one came. This is on his layout. These two are on his layout. This is the one that was the rooming house. This was the gray one was the factory. Included blank walls and doors, and so on. This one is the Revell lumberyard. The other side of it is open. I decided it worked better from the back. Again, with some painting up and weathering, it fit right in here pretty well. Some of these details came with it. Some of this is just scrap lumber that I left, hidden out back. There's a little office shed that goes with it here. Around the corner over here, you can't see it, but there's a radial arm saw, which recalls the days when I was first involved in buying lumber. You went to the lumber yard, they cut them from 12-inch boards right at the lumber yard. He needed a 2x4. He cut it out of a 2x12.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good place to stop, Jim, if that's good.
That's good with me. That's gorgeous.
Okay.
It's really beautiful.
We'll pick it up here next time.
Anybody have any questions for Ed? How big is that station going to be once it's finished, Ed?
The one you just saw,
Yeah,
that's as big as it gets. I'll talk about that. That's it's actually the Bachman department store that I pieced together and to make to come close to New Haven Station. We'll talk about that next time.
okay.
I'm now on the new layout. I got to figure out where it goes. I'm to that point, so I got to figure out. Let's see, how's this going to fit in here? But we'll see.
Thanks so much, Ed. You have a
All
great
right,
night.
you're welcome. Yep.
So now I'd like to turn to Martin Breckbiel for our Scratch Builders Corner. Martin, welcome.
Evening, Jim. Let's see if I can see if I can share the screen. What do you know? Still works every week. Shocking, modern technology. Okay, so pick up right where we left off last week. Strangely enough, got the body completed. We got a radial arm, radial coupler. We made and mounted it to the one end. There's a KD at the other end. I neglected to mention that. And I revealed after the fact that this is a substation car, because this is the car that fits in between my steam line and my traction line. If I ever get any wire put up. In the meantime, we got a substation car in the works. This week we're gonna just paint everything up and pretty much finish it, call it done. So this will be pretty short, actually, I think. There. So no trucks under it yet, sitting up on blocks. I usually work with stuff up on blocks for a while until I get very close to the end. I got a stack of those I cut out of some red oak a few years ago. So we paint the roof dark gray over that paper applied roof, the Panera napkin roof that's glued down. Roof walk boards were pre-painted roof brown and mounted along with the end platforms. Car body got painted Southern Freight Car brown, which is actually not very brown. It's actually kind of a reddish brown, more red than brown, actually. And the deck got painted Canadian National Gray for some reason, but probably because I just liked the color. And everything else got just steam black or something that had the word black in the title, because after a while, I can't tell any of them apart. They're all black to me. I've got 4 or 5 different bottles of polyscale black. Black is black, unless you hold them right up against each other close and stare at them until your eyes glaze over. And I hand paint everything almost always. And now that it's about 45 degrees outside at the high point of the day, I'm not going outside and painting anymore. So this is mainly polyscale, but actually this was flow quill, most of this. So yeah, I suffered some slings and arrows from my better half on the aroma permeating from the basement upwards. But it can be done with the exhaust fan with not too much trouble. Everything else got a coat of Minwax stain, which is, I keep an old Fluke chemical bottle, and every time I get a can of Minwax that gets real low, I rinse it out and dump it in that bottle. So it's always changing and it's always varying. It just got a little darker because I think I just put dark walnut in it. And there's the other side of the car. No door on this side. The wooden ladders were fun to build. They're laser cut pieces, but they need a little adjustment whenever you assemble them. Left the roof a little rough and a little lifted here and there. Gives it a little more character. I have not lettered this car as yet. So here's something I didn't talk about last week. I had not put it on until I got it painted. I wanted it painted first before I applied this brake wheel and a gearbox for the, I don't know where, gearbox roof. But the word roof doesn't belong there. So that was all pre-painted, and actually the wire that mounts the wheel actually goes into the wood behind it, so it holds it all in place, doesn't come off very easily. That's some chain that was, I'm not sure where from. That's on a little piece of 15 thousandths brass wire with a loop on it, clipped tight through a link in the wire, a link in the chain, up into a hole inside that box, gearbox. So it's all glued all there in one piece. There's the front. We got a nice, it's all painted up. And as always, a little dab of black on the doorknob so you can tell that there's a doorknob there. Otherwise, it all blends in. Well, we put our transformer and all the plumbing and wires that go with that and hook that up, mounted in place. All the exposed wire got some green paint on it. I have no idea what color green it is. It was a polyscale green, might have been Maine Central green. I know that bottle was on my bench at the time. Some arch bar trucks underneath of it with some intermountain wheel sets, and we're at the finish line. I didn't bother to letter it. I figured on my railroad, how many of these would we have? Why would we need to number it? Just get out the substation car and run it up the road to where you need it. So one end has a regular steam line, standard coupler on it. The other one has a radial, so you can move it from either direction depending on where you are with what type of motive power you've got. So we got steam on one end and we got a trolley on the other end under wire. And there's just an overhead view. The green didn't come out. Well, it's sort of coming out okay. I didn't capture it too well in this camera. This camera and I are having many debates about its further existence in my possession. I hate to have to buy a new camera. I haven't bought a camera in more than a decade, so I know I'm going to be completely confused if I buy one. And there's the rest of it. From the other side, you can see the wires all hooked up, runs inside next to the door, the back side of the car with the trucks, the front again, so you can see the wire. I guess that's sort of visible going into the generator. And that's where we're done. And we'll start a whole new project next week.
That's really an interesting car. No question about it.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for Martin? You did it again, Martin. You've got everything covered tremendously well.
Oh, either that, I just stunned them. I don't know. Okay, well, on to your next show, part of the show.
All right, Martin, thanks so very much. Well, before I introduce the next guest, I do want to put up something on the chat function so that everybody can see it. Paul Panatz was here last week and talked about dioramas and how he builds them, and mentioned several sites that had some great information that a lot of people may be interested in, and he couldn't upload it when he was here. Well, here's a list of all of the sites that he mentioned. And unfortunately, he's not going to be with us for the next couple of weeks. But he asked me to show this to you tonight, so that if you're interested in going to one of these sites, you'll have the basic information. I have a copy of this. If you can't pull it down off of the chat or off of this part of the screen, if you'll just send me an email to Jim Kello at newtracksmodeling.com, I'll be glad to send you a copy of all of this information that Paul has provided here. But I thought it was awfully nice of him to make sure that you got the information, since he couldn't be here in person this evening. Thanks so much, Phil, for doing this. I appreciate it. Well, with that said, I'd like to introduce Jeff Jordan, who is taking this kitbash station project and modifying it to where it looks like a specific depot that he's interested in building. So, Jeff, welcome.
Hi, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Let me share my screen here. says participants can now see my screen. Can you see my screen?
No,
How about now?
I see 3 pictures.
Yes, just throw it into the slideshow mode. There you go.
There we go. Okay, picking up where we left off last week on the modifications to the commercially available kit to closely resemble the historic Middletown Depot. And so one of the modifications was, so you saw I extended the walls and added a window opening in the base section of the structure. Now this is the siding, which the center photo shows how I had traced the location of the photo onto the siding material, then liberally taped it with painter's tape on both sides to prevent it from splitting, and then just used a steel rule and a sharp X-Acto blade to cut it out. And as you can see in the right-hand photo there, the cuts have pierced all of the painter's tape. So the piece lifts out, and with a very little truing up with a file, the Grant line casting drops right in. Fortunately, one of the reasons I picked this kit was I recognized that its windows and doors were Grant line castings that I could match. So when I added a window that wasn't in the kit, I could obtain the matching Grant line casting. So next step then is adding the siding onto the base. On the left there, my siding is all weighted down because I have a great big box of wheel weights, and then find them to be a very handy source of weight for gluing stuff down. And so the siding is added, and there on the right, you can see the modification that because the sidewalls were extended, and in the previous episode showed how I cut some of the leftover material from the end walls to cover the gap on the sidewalls. And then once it is glued carefully, very carefully glued in place to line up the horizontal boards, I filled the remaining gap, which I had made as small as possible and as tight as possible, filled it with just a little bit of wood filler, and then with a very fine microfile sanded on each individual horizontal board to keep the profile. And so you can see there just the shadow of the line. At that point, it's just the color. There is no depression in there anymore. And once it gets painted, it pretty much disappears. Also, you can see the structure has been test fit on the base that comes with the kit. The kit comes with a very nice piece of base material and some of the deck material, which I'm experimenting with fitting around the building because the building is located on the platform differently than the stock kit because I lengthened the ends. And so I chose to push the building all the way down to one end, and there was enough deck material, but it had to be reformatted to fit all of the available space. Painting. So that is just a simple coat of Krylon gray to give it some primer. And then on the right is a first coat. I actually would coat it more than once, but a first coat of polyscale special oxide red, which I think is a pretty good match for the period paint color on the B&O Depots, which had an oxide red with brown trim. The roof, probably one of the trickiest parts of the kit. The kit comes with 2 roof sections. The one on the left there would have been the back roof, and it had equal overhangs on the front and the back in the kit. It worked out very neatly that I could take a steel rule and slice off 3 sections of the rear roof, leaving it with the short overhang that you see in the prototype photo, and use that material to fill the front roof. The piece on the photograph on the right shows the front roof material, which originally only had a little extension on the roof to cover the bay window rather than extending out the full length of the building as the prototype. And so the material that was sliced off very neatly fits in, just a tiny little bit of sanding and fitting to fill the gap. And next step, I will come back to, I guess, the other slide with the roof is in the next segment. So, so here I'm fitting the trim material, which comes with the kit for the most part. It comes with nice trim, which you need to pre-paint and then insert in place. Also, the bay window is under the 3 weights on the right. But the one trick here is on the right, there's the board or the material that the laser cut trim came in, and it's all been cut out and is off being painted. And at that point, it was clear, because again, I had extended the walls, that I didn't have enough trim. And what to do with that? Well, a lesson in save your scrap material. As you can see, I was able to just section off a piece of the edge of the scrap material, and that provided all the necessary material to provide the additional trim that was not pre-cut in the kit. And it was easy to just measure the width, and there was enough wood. And as you see on the left, if I needed, I could have even gotten more from the other scrap material, and that would all go along the base of the structure, the footboard of the structure. So that's what I've got for this week. Tune in next week, and I'll show you how I finished up the roof.
Anybody have any questions for Tom?
Or Jeff.
I think that looks fantastic. I'm sorry, for Jeff.
Yeah,
just
it came out extremely well. I'm I'm building this for my club. It's going to be presented to the mayor, and I told them if I had had room on my lot for this, I'm not so sure I would have given it to you. I'm so happy with how it came out.
So just a comment more than a question. The Krylon spray primer, that's a key ingredient when if you're going to paint with a polyscale or anything that's water based. If you hit it with the Krylon, you don't have to worry about it the water based paint warping the wood, which is a big help.
Correct. And the Krylon is really a good deal. It's not expensive, it's readily available at all the big hardware stores, comes in lots of colors, actually comes in several different shades of gray. That's a darker one. Sometimes I use a lighter one. And though I do also use some high-end primers occasionally, like the Tamiya primer, but for this kind of work, the Krylon works great. Dries quickly, sprays beautifully out of the can.
Mm-hmm.
Now listen, you're going to wear a tuxedo when you make this presentation?
Maybe I'll wear my hickory denim overalls.
Just wondered. That's really a great honor. You ought to really be proud of it. It's a beautiful looking model.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, now I want to turn to Earl Hackett. And Earl is building the commuter coach from Lambert Locomotive Works, made by Dylan Lambert. So Earl, welcome.
I'll be muted, aren't I? I'm gonna.
You're unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Part 2. This model really came out quite well. I was very pleased with it. Last week we just assembled the seats and the bottom the floor, and we're going to finish it up this week. It was really an easy kit to put together. So the first thing I did, I painted the exterior of the body with a black satin finish. the roof was going to be black, so I just sprayed the whole thing. And that served as the primer as well. So then I painted the ends and sides with Floquil Pullman green. I had an old bottle of Floquil down there. I love this stuff. So once that was painted, we masked the outside, and I grabbed some Krylon. I think it was almond. It's any light color would do, just to put some color on the inside on the inside walls, and sprayed that, and we're ready to go. Took off the masking, lettered it. I have some old Champ decals in the box, and this was a dull. Floquil was always a flat paint, and what I do to avoid getting bubbles under the decals, I put the Solvaset on the car itself, and then lay the decal on top of it, and the stuff settles down, and never have any problems with bubbles under the decal film. And then sprayed the whole thing with the Krylon flat finish. The window glass, you can hardly even see it. It's just a clear styrene. And I just took a large oversized sheet, put it in there, and then with a small brush would take a very fluid CA adhesive and dab it along the edge and let the surface tension wick it into the capillary action, wick it into the interface. And that was very easy to install the glass that way. So now we got the underbody. We've assembled the various components, and this is, I think they're in the right place. It was not obvious from the instructions where they went. The only one that was confusing was this the triple valve here, and I think I got it in the right spot. I know nothing about the underbody of passenger cars. In the O scale, this was originally an O scale model, and these boxes here, they were intended for lead shot to be put in to provide weight for the car. This car in HO, it weighs, I don't know, maybe an ounce, maybe an ounce and a half. It was very, very light. So I had to put some weight in there, and there's not enough room in there in HO to really get any significant weight in there. So at any rate, we masked off the seats, sprayed the whole thing black, masked off the journal boxes here with the some tape, and sprayed the trucks as well. This is all just sprayed on my downdraft table with Krylon satin black. The grab irons were probably the most challenging part of the building. And I was building them in a phosphor bronze wire, and of course I got it from the instrument warehouse, the instrument workshop rather. It's a workshop that works with ancient musical instruments, and they have a good selection of wires, bronze and iron, and all kinds of crazy wires in all sorts of dimensions. So, and it's not very expensive. So I go there quite often for wire. But at any rate, you need to get it straight. And I just grab it and use my fingers to flex it out. So you don't need the whole thing to be straight. You just need a small section where to be a straight wire. And since I was making a whole bunch of them that are going to be the same size, I just took some scrap wood and cut it to length, glued it in into a vice grip, so that I could just drop the wire in between and then fold it up. You could make a whole bunch of them all the same size very quickly. Just took a block of wood, pushed it up against it, and flexed it in. My original thought, because of a couple of the mounting problems I was looking at, I was going to surface mount them. So I built them with a little extension here. I clipped this off anneal this wire with a torch, then hit it with a punch and flatten this section here to get a glue surface. And that worked well. Then I tried to put it on the car, and that didn't work very well at all. So I threw out that idea. Went with just a straight grab, but now I have to drill holes. And this is what I use for hole drilling. This is my Boston Dental Laboratory belt drive. This thing is the best doggone machine for drilling holes, small holes that you could possibly imagine. The drill bit here is from Drill Bit City. If you want really precise drills, go there. These are resharpened circuit board drills, and they're incredibly cheap for what you're getting. So what I did, I made a little template with a couple of holes drilled the proper distance and just eyeballed, drilled the first hole, line this one up, and eyeballed the next one and put it in there. But the nice thing about this device is controlled by a foot pedal, and the foot pedal controls speed as well. So you get the drill, position it where you want it, and then hit the pedal, and it, boom, it just drives right smack into it. You don't push on it at all. Just the weight of the drill gets the job done. And it allowed me to drill holes in this. This is the one, these edges here. I was really concerned with being able to get the holes lined up on these, this edge of this, the front piece of the car. I don't know what you call it, front piece. I don't know, but it was not a problem at all with this drill setup. Oh, you can still buy these Buffalo Dental Lab engines new for $740. But if you go on eBay, you can find them for less than half that. And I got this one 30 years ago from a nail salon. They used it to carve fingernails on ladies. It's worked fine ever since. That's what it actually looks like. It sits here on my workbench next to I built a little shelf down here to put the engine on, so that this articulated arm can reach anywhere on my workbench, and it works very well. Okay, so we got the grab irons mounted, and I dug around my paint boxes, and I needed a yellow paint. I found some Scale Coat, and that stuff, it is so thick and gloppy. This one came out okay, but this one is, you can see, it's just, it glops on there, and for the life of me, I couldn't get it to go on smoothly. I got these all on. I started to make the horizontals. They're a slightly different dimension. I looked at another box of paint, and son of a gun, I had some flow quill. So I painted these with flow quill, and you can see the difference in the quality of the coating. So I just love flow quill. I wish the heck we could get that again. This is the underbody here where we've mounted the parts. For these, I used DAP Rapid Fuse. It's a CA, but it has a lot of elongation. It's not a gel, but it's almost a gel, and it goes where you put it, and it stays there and works very well. Weights, as I said, the car was extremely light, so I machined some lead weights to simulate the equipment or cabinets, lockers that you find at the ends of these cars. So I made 4 of these little guys. I took some lead and cast it into a sort of a billet, and then put it on my mill and machined it to a nice rectangular shape. And that's how they mount inside the car. So that puts plenty of weight right directly over the trucks, which is, I didn't want weight in the middle of the car because this material's so flexible over time, it could sag. So I wanted the weight directly where it was going to be supported. The body assembly was pretty easily, but I ran into a problem with, there's a slot in the underbody where this tab had to slide down into, and there was some interference fit. So the simplest solution was just to grind it out so it would drop in, and it dropped in very nicely after that. Again, the underbody was not a very good print, and although we reprinted the underbody, the main portion, I did not ask for have the underbody printed. So that may have been part of the problem. One other thing I did, before I glued it together, I removed the paint along here. I don't know that Krylon is all that great, and I tried thinning this out at first, but to try and get it fit better, but it worked okay. We got it in. Now, remember the original underframe, because of the printing problem, it had a distortion. And this is a common problem with all 3D printing. It has a tendency to distort like this. The only way you can prevent it is to make it really thick, and then you lose a lot of. Well, sometimes you just can't make it that thick because it's if you're building a scale model, so somehow you have to deal with the stuff. And the material was nice and flexible, so it went together very well. But the very end here, it was still hanging down a little bit. Now I could flex it and bend it up into here and glue it in position, but I don't like shear bonds. This bond would be loaded up in shear, pulling it down. Cyanoacrylates do not do well in shear, so I wanted to minimize the load that this bond line was going to be exposed to. Oh, stop that. There. So I went underneath and looked at it to see where the load was coming from, and there was this cross member was flexing pretty heavily. So I just cut it here and undercut this a little bit and relieved all the stress, and it just slid up into there very nicely, and I was able to glue it. Wasn't a problem at all. It took all of 5 minutes. I put the couple of box mounted on very nicely, and I added, just to beef this up, because I removed some material just to make sure it wasn't going anywhere. This is some 1/10" thick polystyrene with another thin piece put on, lapped on here to make sure it was in good and solid. Added the couplers and the trucks, and it was they were all installed with 256 machine screws. I just tapped right into the frame of the holes. I didn't ream them out with a drill or anything. I let the tap do the work, and it worked very well. On the layout, you don't notice this rough, this flow cool, but in a picture like this, it really stands out. And I just may take the time to scrape it off and get out my old bottle of flow cool that I didn't know I had, and make them look better. So that's about it. Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Earl? Dylan, I don't know whether you made the show yet or not. Last I heard from Dylan, he was trying to drive home from work, so I don't know whether he made it or not.
I don't see him yet, Jim.
Okay. Earl, thank you so very much for doing this. It looks like it turned into a nice model. Can't hear you.
You're muted.
I can't hear you, Earl.
Just muted myself. I'm trying to get, am I still sharing the screen?
Yeah, no, just you.
Oh, it's just me. Okay, great. Okay, very good. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, now I want to turn to Tom Farrell, who is finishing up John Allen's engine house. And I'm really looking forward to this because I've always admired John Allen and the work that he could do with a lot less modern equipment than we have today. So, Tom, welcome.
Thank you again for having me. And I wasn't here last week because I was working on this engine house. It's a handful, I'll tell you that. This took me every bit of 4 weeks to complete, and hope you like it. Everybody can see that, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. So I did complete the engine house in so much as it's doesn't have any interior detail. It has interior weathering. And I placed it on the layout. So I'll show you, this is where I was 2 weeks ago. I begun putting in the trusses across the top for the roof. And first thing I did was finish this back wall here, which was just more of the same of this tedious work of putting in these boards and super gluing them in place and painting them. And then I put in this beam. I wanted a beam down the center because in an engine house, I normally hang things from the beam, and I wanted one in there. Plus it stiffened up the model. Next, this is a close-up of the beginning of the roof trusses, braces. These run left to right, east to west on the roof. You can see each one of these was hand cut, hand sanded, placed in there, and with the attempt to get them perfectly parallel to one another and perpendicular to the trusses. There's completed one side. Everything's painted a chocolate brown. Everything was super glued together. And there's the completed bracing for the roof. Now it has a removable roof, so you get to see all this detail. It's not for loss. The chocolate brown is a nice color for this. It gives it a, as I said before, between the green and white, I wanted an old antiquish look to this. There's a look inside. It's not weathered, it's not touched up. There's still spills of super glue. I went back and I repainted all the brown and touched up all the green, and then I eventually weathered it, as you'll see. But you have to get it perfect before you weather it. Now I began with the roof, and this is HO scale Monster Model Works shingles. They have an orientation to them. I have 3 skylights on each side. I outlined where the main trusses are. I originally was going to run 2 by 10s or 2 by 12s down here, but then I changed my mind. I couldn't leave it like this. Even if I put those 2 by 6s or 2 by 8s or whatever I put across here, this would not be a finished surface. It would just be a flat basswood. And I didn't want it to be undetailed. So what I did is I put a sandwich together. This is a scribed material on the other side. I just cut this the same length and width as the roof. Then with a pencil, I just outlined where my cuts would go. Then this is the flip side. So this is what you see now. So this is it glued together. I did super glue the perimeter of this and out around the windows. I put a yellow glue in between and it warped. And I had to put weights on it and let it dry overnight. The other side, I just used super glue and I had no warpage. Just a little note to myself not to use yellow glue in a paint-like fashion. There's too much moisture in there and it warps basswood. So this is the before finishing the Monster Works material. And this is the after. This is that vinegar, steel wool, rust wash. I did a little weathering here just to see what it would look like, but this is before and after. Then I began making the, I don't know what you call this, a cupola or the the roof vent is what I'm going to call it for this evening. This is one of the sides, the components for the roof vent. So these transformed into this, and then I put these 2x6s on an angle here. So the idea is that when steam locomotives are inside my engine house, the exhaust rises up into this vestibule and it exits out these vents. This is the same technique I used on my covered bridge. And I originally was going to have windows here, but then I'd have to have chimneys here. I just think this is a more elegant, more interesting solution. So there's what it looks like. I think that's a neat look to it. This is finished, unfinished. There's the weathering. I used pan pastels, just 3 shades of brown and a paintbrush, a fat, soft brush. And I just, little at a time, I just add different colors and just got this weathered look to it. Once again, I want to commend Monster Model Works for their fine materials. And as Jim and I talked previous shows and prior to this show tonight, you know, John Allen did this all on his own with cardboard. And quite honestly, he produced a superior model. Not that mine's bad, but his is definitely hits it out of the park. So there we are. This is not finished here yet, but you can see the models coming along with the weathering. There's an inside. That's just a black alcohol wash for now. I'll go back and clean this up a little bit, but you can see the skylights are actually working, letting light into the building. There's the overall look of the model with the weathering. That's the back wall. This limestone blocks came out really nice. They are just pan pastels on there. I wanted this weathered and used. I didn't want it decrepit, just weathered. There's basically the finished model, all the weathering in place, almost. I did fix that. There's where it goes on the layout. So the problem is there's track there. So I took a razor saw and I cut it out. And with a putty knife, I pried the, I was surprised how easily this track came up, and the ballast and everything else. It just popped right off. And then I took a razor saw and I made these vertical cuts. And then with a putty knife and a rasp, basically, I cut this out because I want, you know, my building's all set on plywood. The penalty for that is you have to sink them into the plastic, into the foam. There it is in place. There's the finished model. I'm going to have, this is an interchange track. There's going to be an O-scale locomotive sitting here. This is not finished yet. That track's just sitting there. I mean, none of the scenery is finished. The model, the engine house is in place though, and those are its 2 locomotives. Came out, like I said, it was very challenging time-wise. Not necessarily high skill required for this, but it took a lot of time. There was a lot to this model. Yeah, there's a nice shot of it. It's a nice even weathering, or I shouldn't say even, nice weathering, not excessive. Pan pastels, they're an oil-based chalk, basically. Now to the immediate right of this engine house, I left a 12-inch gap. And that's because I'm going to feature this next week. This is a kit. I rarely build kits. This is a friend of mine, Mark Shire. And I bought this 2 years ago at Al Judy's show in Harrisburg. And I bought it for this purpose. And I'm going to put it in right in here. And then I'm going to hopefully finish this tunnel and the scenery here. There's not much here. The goal is to have this done next week. We'll see. But this is putting this on the John Allen engine house, just briefly here. On the original John Allen engine house, this penetration, this track going through the entire structure, he had this on the right side. If anybody recalls, early in the program, I said I was going to reverse that. The reason I was reversing it was for this scheme to put in this. Mine's not going to be a station. It's going to be just just basically shacks for maintenance purposes. And yeah, so that's where we are. That's the finished model, and that's it.
Absolutely gorgeous. You ought to really be proud of that.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Tom? Well, you've done it again, sir. I appreciate it so very much. Thank you so much for duplicating what John Allen did so many years ago.
Want to keep the memory alive. That's the other reason I did it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to make an announcement here. I got an email a little bit ago about the upcoming Zoom show on Sunday that the Association O-Scale Central puts on once a month. And this one, if you're in O-Scale, or even if you're not, you don't have to be a member of the association. You just have to have the login link. I have the login link. I don't want to publish it because we don't publish links to this show because we could be get people in we don't want to have in. But if you want the link to it, if you'll send me an email, I'll be glad to send you the link that I have for this. It's Sunday, this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And they're going to be having some things that I think are pretty good. They're going to have a layout tour with Andrew Dodge. Andrew models a marine harbor kind of model railroad. Another one they're going to have is the San Juan Models Company, and they're going to be talking about the future plans for that company. Dave Vaughn is going to be talking about estate planning. When we're dead and gone, what are our wives or kids going to do with our model railroads? And Dan Daugherty is going to be talking about some news that he's going to be publishing in his magazine. So if you're interested, and if you did not get the email today, I'm glad to send you a copy of the email. And in the copy of the email that I got that has the login link, I'll be glad to tell you then how you can get the login links in the future if you want to continue seeing these Zoom shows. I've been to several of them. They've been very interesting. I don't know of another scale that has Zoom shows like this. But if you do, and if you can tell me about them, I'd love to attend some of those. I just don't know when they're held or who's holding them. I haven't heard of an S scale, for example, or an N scale, or a G scale, or an HO scale. I know that there are people on the internet and on YouTube, but as far as an organized group, I'm not familiar with them. So if you could send me the information, I'd love to be able to attend some. And if you're interested in this O-scale one, then send me an email, jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com, and I'll send you the login link and then tell you how you can get future ones if you're interested. Well, with that said, we have a kind of a short program tonight. It's that time of the year. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And Pat, if you could run our caboose for this evening. I really like this caboose because I'm in love with these boxcars. Always have. that, folks, is the end of our show. Somebody asked me the other day, if the modelers aren't at model train shows, where are they? Well, a lot of them are at the plastic modeler shows. Model railroaders, by and large, aren't shown at those shows. Model boat builders are, and all different kinds of airplanes, tanks, trucks, you name it, they're plastic. And I said, I really think some of the old-timey 1920s, 30 boxcars that had all of the private brands on the sides, I've always thought that was really a unique kind of train when you saw it, and you saw all the colors and so forth. And for model railroaders to break into that kind of modeling group, I've always thought that having a display by model railroaders of those kind of cars would attract possibly modelers to say, hey, I'd like to build that kind of thing. I don't know whether that's true or not, but to me, that would be a way of showing some of the rather unique, colorful parts of model railroad construction that modelers in other scales and other hobbies might be interested in. So I throw that out. And that's it for our show tonight. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed it. Most important,